Welcome to In the Can with Carmella Cann. Today is all about the winter holidays. We have Hanukkah, Christmas, and Kwanzaa. I have three very special guests today I'd like to introduce you to. Our first guest is Bruce Patcher. He's a member of the CBSD. We also have Reverend Dr. Katrina Foster, who's a pastor of St. John's Lutheran Church. And also we have Abayomi Ajaiyeoba, who's a friend and an attorney. So let's talk about the holidays.
Okay, sounds good.
You know, Hanukkah comes up first in the calendar.
Which calendar? We have, we have two calendars.
I think Hanukkah starts around December this year. Is it December?
We go by the Hebrew calendar.
Okay.
So sometimes it's November, sometimes it's December. We have a leap month in the Hebrew calendar, so we have an extra month sometimes.
Okay.
This year it's very early. It's December 5th, I believe.
Oh, is it the 5th?
First night.
Okay. And you know, tell us what is Hanukkah?
It's the Festival of Lights.
Okay, I've heard that before.
And that's what it's known as. When the Maccabees were preserving the temple, we were taken over by the Greeks. They attempted to destroy it. They found a little can of oil. And the amount of oil that they had, they said would last one day. Well, the miracle was it lasted 7.
Okay.
So, hence the Festival of Lights.
So it's 8 candles on the menorah.
So we have one lead candle, which is called the Shamash, which means lead.
Okay.
And Hanukkah actually means dedication. We're dedicating the temple. So, as we read in Hebrew, right to left, we light the candles right to left. So the first night is 1, second night until you have all 8 lit. And you always do it with the Shamash, which is the lead candle.
Okay. Is it done like at a specific time? Is it like it doesn't
We always,
matter?
our days start at sunset.
Okay.
As
at
opposed to
sunset.
sunrise.
Got it. Okay.
So it's sunset to sunset. It's usually the holiday for the kids. They love it. There's customs, there's traditions. If you're Ashkenazi Jew, which is Middle Eastern, which I am, my parents were Polish, we celebrated with latke, Seder pancakes. If you're Sephardic from Africa, you celebrate with jelly donuts.
Oh, interesting.
Why?
Okay.
Not a clue. Not a clue, but it's the custom. And growing up, you always, your grandparents gave you back then silver dollars.
Okay.
And every day you would get 1, second day you would get 2 and 3. It's a fun holiday. It's probably one of the more joyous holidays in the Jewish tradition.
Okay.
It's fun.
So now let's talk about Christianity. and
Sure.
Christmas.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child.
I mean,
Sure.
December 25th is this big day in, you know, when we talk about Christians.
Yes. Christmas Eve probably is bigger than Christmas Day in many ways, because every congregation will have a Christmas Eve service, or most congregations will. Not everybody has a Christmas morning service,
Okay.
but Christmas Eve, you have the big joyous hymns that we sing, the very well-known hymns that we sing, Joy to the World, Silent Night, Angels We Have Heard on High. There's a whole lot. And you light the candles at the end of the service and you sing Silent Night together with all the lights that come down, and you've got the lit candles. And it's a very joyous
So
night.
do all Christian faiths, like Lutheran, Methodist, and Catholics, all light candles, or is it specifically towards one group?
I think the more what we would call liturgical churches, those are churches that say the creeds and have the Kyries, the calls and responses, those sorts of things, Anglican, Episcopalian, Lutheran, Roman Catholic, the Orthodox, they're more likely to do the candle lighting, I imagine.
Okay.
But not all congregations would do that. It's the closer Lutherans are to Roman Catholic churches, the more Roman Catholic we look. So, but if we're around more Baptist and Methodist, the lower our liturgical pomp and circumstances would be. So it really just depends. But Christmas Eve is when we come together at night. You can have a midnight mass, but Lutherans usually do about, it depends on the place.
So why is Christmas Eve more important than Christmas? I'm just curious.
Because Christmas Day, everybody wants to be at home, right?
Okay. Or
Everybody
open their gifts.
to open their gifts. They're with family. They want to stay in their pajamas. My family, when I was a baby pastor, we had a Christmas Day service, and it was rough with our young daughter because she wanted to stay home and open her gifts, and we had to go to church first and then come home and then do all that stuff. So Christmas, where I am now, we don't have a Christmas Day service, and I did not implement one. We have a huge Christmas Eve service, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And but no Christmas Day service.
I mean, I was raised Catholic, and,
Right.
and the Christmas Eve, midnight mass, and the
Yes.
whole
Yes.
Traditions that we kind of had, serving of the fishes, and you couldn't eat meat on Christmas Eve. That was
Right.
had to hold
Right.
off. I always thought it was like more of a European thing since my family was from Europe.
Right.
But across, I would guess, Christian faiths, there's similarities. in
Lots
that.
of similarities. One of the things that has happened, though, is that Christmas has become such a secular holiday. Everybody celebrates Christmas. I have Jewish friends who have Christmas trees, right? And
Well, in this country, cheese is very commercial. I mean,
it's become a Hallmark holiday. But if you actually go and read the biblical passages, and it's only in 2 of the Gospels. There's 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's only in Matthew and Luke, and both of those retellings of the birth of Jesus are radically different from each other. But they have a couple of shared things. One, Jesus comes incarnate, and God becoming flesh is a scandal. Why would God ever become something so killable as flesh? So that's absolutely a scandal that we just kind of go, oh yeah, of course Jesus was born. And then in Matthew's gospel, Herod, who was a narcissistic politician, insecure, who loved building vanity projects and putting his name on it. We know politicians like this. Herod, when he found out about this rival child king, sent his troops to go kill every kid in and around Bethlehem age 2 and under. It was the slaughter of the innocents. So, that is a scandalous story right there. And we have completely defanged this radical story of God insisting on being born upon the poor and the least and the last, not the well-off and well-connected. And so, the actual story of Christmas is one of liberation, of God coming to be with us, and we've turned it into, pre-lit Christmas trees and Hallmark Channel movies. And we've totally taken the joyful power of it away.
I mean, Jewish people don't believe in, Jesus.
No.
And
They
so
recognize him as a
him.
prophet.
recognize him as a
yes.
prophet.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
you have the Old Testament versus, you're talking about the New Testament, which is, of course, like the Christmas part of where Christianity comes in place.
Right.
But there's some things that we take from Judaism as well.
Of course. Well,
because
Jesus
of
was
the Old
Jewish.
Testament as well.
He was called a rabbi, which is
Yes.
his teacher.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Jesus
I mean,
is Jewish.
he was born Jewish.
Yes. Is Jewish.
Exactly.
Right? So anti-Semitism makes no sense in Christians. It's just stuck on stupid and parked and dumb. That's all that is.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, but Jesus was an itinerant, undocumented Palestinian Jew, and all the iconography in our churches are white European people. And it's like, no, white people have not created a single religion except, I don't know, what
Anglican?
Tom Cruise stuff,
Church of Science.
Yeah. Everything else was created by people in Africa and the Middle East. and we've co-opted it and turned it into a thing that is not.
Please click the link below and visit Carmella Cann shop. Have official merchandise, anything from magnets to tote bag. And they're perfect for either holiday gifts or birthday gifts. And you could get your official Carmella Cann merchandise on the link below.
You
I do
know,
have a question for you,
Sure.
Tessa. How did it get so commercialized, or why did it get so commercialized?
Macy's.
Okay.
Think about it.
No,
Macy's. Macy's created, like, you know, Santa Claus with the Coca-Cola, and then the Thanksgiving Day parade, it's Santa at the very end, and anything that can be commercialized, codified, and sold is going to be commercialized, codified, and sold. You know, when we commercialize these things, we really take out the radical nature. I mean, Hanukkah at its base is a remembrance of hope against despair. You know, that's
That we won.
powerful.
That we
yes.
saved, yes.
Right, that's
I mean,
powerful.
The whole thing to me is, I'll use the term grassroots. Mm-hmm. You start off as grassroots, and that's really where it all is.
Yes,
And then all of a sudden, you become a corporation.
right.
Well, that's a whole other topic.
You know,
So, like, you know,
Yes.
retail, and, you know, most retail, I think, during the
no, but I'm
holidays
saying
say that,
religions.
that they make like 30-40% of their revenue during that holiday
Absolutely,
period.
yes.
So it's become very commercialized. But
Yes.
now I want to bring Yomi into this conversation, and then we have Kwanzaa last, which starts on December 26th
That's correct.
through January 1st, correct?
That's correct.
And tell us a little bit about Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa is here. Kwanzaa is here. Red, black, green. Red, black, green. We light a candle every night. For 7 days we celebrate. The holidays filled with so much light. Kwanzaa's here.
All right, so I'll just speak generally. So Kwanzaa started in the 60s. Dr. Milana Karenga started in the 60s. And there are people that would say that, okay, is it a made-up holiday? It came from a premise. It came from community. It came from ancestral, practices. So, like, for instance, I'm originally from Nigeria. And Kwanzaa actually stands for first fruits in Swahili. And in Nigeria and in many other African countries, they celebrate the harvest. It's like a joyful time. In Nigeria, we have a yam festival. So, you know, community comes together. We're talking about collective responsibility, a time of reflection, you know, looking at creativity, supporting one another, looking at self-determination, and these, and umoja, which is unity. Because with Kwanzaa, we have 7 principles.
What are those 7 principles?
7, and I have my little sheets here. So in the office, I usually have a call and response, so, you know, because I want people to be educated about it. So the first thing that you say on the first day of Kwanzaa, you say, habari gani. So habari gani means, what's the news? And you're supposed to respond with the Kwanzaa principle for the day. So the first day, like I indicated, is umoja, which is unity. And one thing I always say about umoja, you know, stresses the importance of togetherness and community. And that's one of the reasons why I like Kwanzaa, because, you know, when you talk about the commercialism and, you know, in terms of, you know, how Christmas has turned into, when my daughter was younger, I wanted her to have something with meaning and value, making gifts, you know, so that's, you know, we go through that process, we go through reflection. So I usually tell people, okay, like with each principle, what is the reflection? So I give them a reflection. So for umoja, I'll say, what have you done towards achieving and promoting unity in the community lately, right? So then the next one is kujichagulia, which is self-determination, being able to name for ourselves, speak for ourselves, which is very important, particularly when you're raising children. You want to make sure that they're able to have this sense of agency, self-determination, and I go through a whole affirmation, making sure that this commitment to self-determination is reaffirmed. And I know I'm moving quickly. So day 3, and again, each day you go habari gani, what's the news? So the third one is Ujima, which talks about collective work and responsibility. Just ensuring that together we come together as a community to pool our resources. And one of the things I always reflect on with Ujima is, the whole concept of it takes a village to raise a child. So when I think about this principle, that's what comes to mind. I should have showed them, but
I can put it up on the screen.
Oh yeah, so day 4 is Ujama, which is cooperative economics. So the Black community spends a lot of money, so just ensuring that we're supporting one another. And there's a quote that I even use from Nelson Mandela when he says, money won't create success, the freedom to make it will. So having people look at, okay, what have you incorporated from Ujama into your daily living? What have you done to support your community? Have you gone to Black businesses? Those kind of things. What kind of investments have you made in your community? So this is my Ujama. And then day 5, Nia, which is purpose. Which is very, very important. Even like in the Asian community, we always talk about, just reflecting on your purpose. What is your life's purpose? What is your destiny? Are you embracing purposeful living? Are you doing things that are intentional that will align with, fulfilling that purpose? So that's Nia. So principle 6 for day 6 is Kaumba, which means creativity. And with Kumba, we're doing as much as we can in the way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. And when I think about that, I also think about wearable art and just the beauty that brings and the joy that brings.
And you have such a beautiful dress. I do want to show my audience the back of your dress because it's gorgeous, and you have gorgeous earrings. So here's Yomi's dress, which is a celebration of also African art. Please click the link below and visit Carmella Cann's shop. Have official merchandise, anything from magnets to tote bag. And they're perfect for either holiday gifts or birthday gifts. And you could get your official Carmella Cann merchandise on the link below.
And this is one of my favorite ones. Day 7 is Imani. And there are actually some children's named Imani. Well, you've heard her name Imani. Actually, and I actually know one of my friends named her daughter Kuchi Chakalia.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And Imani means faith. So we're talking about faith, of course, in a greater being, but also in your family and one another. Just having that sense of trust, looking at psychological safety, those kind of principles just resonate with me. So this is my whole, and I always put these on my door. So like this picture right here, this is when I actually went to Senegal a couple of years ago. And I went to Gorée Island, which is one of the slave ports that they took, slaves. So that's Imani faith. And as I mentioned, there are different items that we use. We have the Kanara, and
we have the menorah.
Right? And then we have the 7 candles. The Umoja candle is the black candle that we light first, and we use that to light the other candles. The other candles are red and black, because the colors for Kwanzaa, red, black, green.
Okay.
So red.
Is there a reason why those colors were picked?
So black to represent the people, green to represent the land. And red represents, just when you're looking at the greater community in terms of, what we have experienced as a people. So those are the colors. And then another thing, we have a mat called a Mecca. We have mazo, which those are like the ears of corn, and those pieces of corn represents each child in the household. And there are
there's like a tradition
in
some level. All of these are rooted in some form of tradition.
And the last thing I do want to mention before I forget, because there are other ones, but one of the other important ones is the unity cup.
Okay.
So we use that to pour libation, which is something that's very important in African communities where you're remembering your ancestors. So there are some similarities in terms of, even when you, there was something that you mentioned earlier in terms of customs. So now we're looking at culture, looking at customs, looking at, just trying to find ways to make things more meaningful so that our kids are not looking at, oh yeah, this is, you're going to get people, they don't use Nintendos anymore, the PlayStations. PlayStations, right? So now it's like, okay, let's sit, let's come together. And at the end of it, we have a feast. We all come together just to, again, give it some meaning and purpose. Yeah.
And again, just, Kwanzaa is not a religion.
No.
It's more of
Like a culture, and the community coming together. So yeah.
And in many ways, both of you have the menorah and
The Kenora.
the Kenora. And it's 8 and 7. Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, and ours is written. The miracle is documented in Testament. It's not really, it's tradition, but it's qualified tradition. It's factual tradition. It's not like it's a nice thing, let's do it all the time.
Right.
Like a lot of Judaism is tradition. Like growing up, I would ask my grandmother why. And she'd go, because,
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like,
One of the things that I emphasize every year is that the first season of the liturgical year is Advent. And Advent, that's when people are buying things and getting Christmas ready. And then Christmas begins, and Christmas goes from the 25th until January 6th, which is when Epiphany is, which is when the Magi came and
Three
made,
kings
and
and
the
all
three
that.
kings and made Christ known. So
now do all Christian religions believe in the three kings, or is that specific to like a specific group?
well, it's in the Bible.
Okay.
So it's in Matthew's Gospel. It's not in Luke's Gospel. It's one of the
See, I don't read
unique.
the Bible that much. I have to be educated on
I
this.
brought mine just so I could,
Even though I grew up Catholic.
That's okay. So that's in Matthew's Gospel, the Magi. And, they were astrologers. They were not Jews or they were guys who read the signs and was like, oh, something has happened. Let's go see what it is. And they go to Herod, and Herod sends them, and then they get a sign through a dream, don't go back to Herod. And that's when Herod loses his mind and kills everybody. So we have these three distinct seasons that are, everybody else lumps together and says, oh, that's Christmas. And Christmas, when Christmas actually begins, everybody else is done with Christmas. They're ready to go for their after Christmas shopping, which,
the sales.
praise Jesus, I go and do my shopping them too. But
I
that's,
go get my ornament collection because I
Yes.
collect ornaments.
that's what we do too.
So like a lot of museums start to that's when they go like kind of on sale, and but you have to really go early because the good stuff really goes.
well, we're
fast.
talking about retail. Retail's going to start in October. They're going to start dressing up the
I
stores
know
already.
they start
No,
promoting
Costco.
Christmas like
It's like weird.
Costco has Halloween and Christmas right now.
I know.
It's insane. And it's like, no.
Can we do it like within the month?
I mean,
know.
Bruce, you talked about how the Jewish community has latkes and jelly donuts. Yomi, does Kwanzaa, is there a specific food that's associated with Kwanzaa at all? Or I know you said harvest, but
Yeah, so we celebrate the harvest, but at the end we have a big feast. So the community comes together, everyone brings different dishes, so there's nothing specific per se. It's like, you just like a big potluck.
okay.
I think all religions are based on food.
Oh, absolutely.
Is there a food that you would say Christians tend to?
No, Lutherans, we don't have a prescribed diet the way that Roman Catholics would, where you can't have fish on Fridays, or
Yeah,
you can't
like
have meat,
we-
or even fasting. Lutherans are not into fasting. We really like to eat. We're big on coffee. That's what Lutherans are big on.
I mean, I was raised with, you can only eat fish on Christmas Eve, and it was like
seven fishes.
The 7 fishes.
Yeah.
And then after midnight, you can eat meat. I don't know why people do that, but they do.
It's an Italian thing.
Yeah, even like I think
mean-
about. I mean, I know we're talking about.
I think it's a European thing because
Kwanzaa.
I'm Portuguese and
That's
we
true.
do it as well. So
Yeah.
Just in line with that, I know we're talking about the holidays here, but even with the New Year, like in the African and Caribbean community, there's a whole thing where it's black-eyed beans and rice because that's supposed to, bring luck in the new year. So it's interesting.
And the
like-
watch night service.
Yeah,
and-
I
exactly.
think everyone
yeah.
has their
Yeah.
traditions
Yeah.
that they've just been passed down from generation
Yeah.
to generation.
Absolutely.
So I have
Absolutely.
one more question to go around. What does Christianity during Christmas mean to you specifically on a personal level? Like,
For me, it is the insistence of God to be close to all that God has made and loves. That there's nothing that is ultimately going to separate God's love from us. No matter, our worst moment is not what defines us in God's heart. And that God really is insistent on being with the least and the last, the forgotten, the widow, the orphan, that when we see people, the poor, that is where we're going to see God the most, and that's our responsibility. Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor," and I'm sure people yelled at him and said, "All people are blessed," right? When we say Black Lives Matter, people go, "Well, all lives matter." No, as Christians, we are called to recognize God's radical insistence on being with everybody, especially those who have no champion. So for me, Christmas is God's enduring love and hope for all humanity.
Okay. What does Hanukkah mean for you on a personal
I'm going
level?
to put it in a way that I see it. We were attacked. We were a small army of the Maccabees, attacked by the big army of the Greeks. The Jews of the world today are 1/10% of the entire world's population. Thailand, for example, has 60 million people. At 58 million are Buddhists. There's about, rounding it off, 60 million Jews in the world. To me, it's our endurance. We're not giving up. We're not going to be removed. We're not going to be annihilated. It shows tenacity. It shows it's emotional for me, because growing up in a family who was annihilated because they happened to be born Jewish in a country that didn't want Jews. It's don't give up.
Okay.
Don't despair. That's how I see it.
No, I like that sense of hope.
Yes, yes.
And Yomi,
Yes.
what's Kwanzaa mean for you on a personal level?
For me, and I guess I alluded to a lot of it, it's about the upliftment of a community and ensuring that people feel empowered, and that, we remember the past in a way that helps us pave a path forward. Because sometimes with the African experience, we're told to forget our past. But, our past, has powerful lessons that could, help us just endure. And oftentimes, when you look at, especially what's going on in the world, life is so short, and just to be able to come together as a community and reflect and be mindful and, and just be
I like the
joyful.
fact you brought up reflection and mindfulness, because I think that's one of the two things that all three have in common, especially in the month of December. It's more elevated because of these three holidays coming up. People are more aware of things, or may feel more spiritually grounded or connected. I know some people don't go to church. The only time they go to church is on Christmas. So they feel more connected on Christmas. They feel more forgiving on that day.
And we're glad to see them.
Yeah.
We are very glad to see them.
So, I mean, those non-regular people, but these holidays, usually because it's a big tradition for everyone, people tend to come together during this period specifically, I think, and are a little bit more mindful and thoughtful and aware of other people, hopefully.
Yeah. Exactly.
that's-
Yeah.
So I thank you all three for being a guest today.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I'm going to start celebrating it all now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also leave me a comment below. And we are wishing you a very happy holiday, and happy Hanukkah, Christmas, and Kwanzaa from In the Can.